Welcome back to Prophet's Diary. I am your host, Shanique Beckford, and in today's episode of Prophet's Diary, I'm going to be sharing with you how I got connected to the wrong pastor, or is he a false prophet? Is he a witch? Is he a wizard? I'm going to be sharing that with you guys today. I'm going to be spilling the tea, as I always say. But before we go any further, I do hope that you have been blessed by our previous episodes 1 to 4. I have shared with you guys my journey. I've been transparent. I've been as open as best as possible, just trying to share with you my journey, what the prophetic journey actually entails, both the good and the bad, how to grow in the prophetic so that you can somehow find my story relatable, transparent, so it can help you in your journey. So from episodes 1 to 4, I have shared from the inception, the call of the prophet, the disappointments, the struggle, the hardships that I have faced, the rejection, the isolation, the loss, needing a mentor, being told that I was going to die, and so many things that I have encountered, in addition to the blessings, the successes, where I've met my husband, we started a church, we have a family, and God has just been tremendously good. So in episodes 1 to 4, I have shared all these things. So guess what? You need to go back and just go scroll through my channel and try to catch up on these episodes if you have missed out. And make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Make sure you like, make sure you leave a comment below if you can relate, or if you want to share a word of encouragement, whatever it is, go ahead and just write it in the comment section. Go ahead and type it in the comment section below. Share the video with someone and continue to watch. There's something good that is in store waiting for you in this video. So let's roll the clip, let's do some advertisements, and we're going to come back right here. Hey everybody, so welcome back. As I said before, I am your host, Prophetess Shanique Beckford, and today in episode 5 of Prophet's Diary, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I actually started pastoring for the wrong person, the wrong pastor. I'm not quite sure if I should say a false prophet. I'm not sure if I should say a witch, a wizard. I'm not sure what to say, but either way, we're just gonna go ahead and just share exactly what had happened. And of course, I'm not going to to call any names, but I want you guys to just to watch with an understanding and pretty much being careful and discerning as you come along in your prophetic journey. As a young prophet, I still consider myself to be a young prophet, but as a young prophet, there are certain things that I have gone through. I believe that I have missed God on several things, and I want you guys to know that sometimes not sometimes, but it is possible that as a prophet of God, whether you are young or you're more senior, it is possible that sometimes we may miss God for whatever reason it is. Could it be emotion, not tuning in to really hear what God is saying, the timing of God? And so I do believe that in my earlier years that I probably would have actually missed God and what he was saying, and I was excited about the work of the Lord. And I do remember where there was this one particular day where I actually got a phone call, and when I took the phone call, it was a prophet from Kingston, and you know, he was fascinated, he was encouraged, he was blessed, and all of those good words with the ministry that I was doing, and he wanted to connect. And at that point in time, he was someone that was well known, someone that is actually still well known, and so I thought, oh wow, if this person is calling me, if this person wants to get a hold of me to work with me, then this must be something good, because you know, he is well known. And of course, then I knew that not everything or everyone that is a public figure or well known or has a crowd means that it is God. And so this story actually causes it to resonate more within my spirit. And so I was excited to be connected with this man of God because of the work that he has been doing. He's someone that I actually used to follow on social media. I visited his church once or probably twice before when I was living in Kingston, and so I was fascinated. And I remember, just to fast forward a little bit, we had a meeting and we dialogued on working together. He wanted to expand his ministry in Montego Bay, where I was living at the time, where I am living. And so you know, we spoke with my husband, and we decided, okay, he wants to have a church in Montego Bay, and we were the perfect persons to be leadership over that church. And of course, I was extremely scared. I had no idea how I would do this. I had no actual training to be a pastor per se, or much experience in that great capacity of serving as a pastor. And it was just completely nerve-wracking, but at the same time I was excited. I did have experience preaching across Jamaica, and I do believe that that experience could have been brought over into pastoring. So we spoke, and he was willing to train us, to teach us, to train us, and just to help us to get situated in the whole position of being a pastor. And initially, I'll say this, initially my husband was not for it. As a matter of fact, not initially, for the entire experience, for the entire period while pastoring, my husband was not for it any at all. He's always saying to me, I do not trust this man, something is not right, there's something off about his spirit. And I used to say to him, no, you got this wrong, you need to pray more, you need to hear what God is saying, why would you want to fight against my opportunity? And I was just totally crazy, totally crazy, totally charmed. And so, you know, we actually, he would invite us out to Kingston. We would go to his church to visit for occasions. We would go to his house where we stayed over, and we didn't have the baby as yet, and there were so many things that was happening. And in the conception stage of us, before we actually started the church, my husband would have dreams, because he actually used to call and he would say, can you come to Kingston tomorrow, can you come to Kingston for the weekend? And of course I would say to my husband that he's asking me to come to Kingston, and my husband would say, there's no way you can just get up and go to Kingston like that. He can't call you and tell you to come and you drop everything and go. And of course I was willing to drop everything and go, because I was doing ministry. And my husband had a dream that this prophet, this pastor, whatever he is, he actually had me in a room. Both of us were in a room, and my husband wanted to come in to talk to me, and he was just peeping through the door, and he was not allowing him to come in. And my husband was asking him, why wouldn't you allow me to come in? I'm her husband. Not that we were doing anything, but he was kind of just shutting up my husband from coming in and being a part of what we were doing. And I found it a bit strange, but I didn't pay it any mind, because here was this grand opportunity for me to pastor and to work with this awesome man of God, so I thought. And you know, we decided that okay, we're going to pastor for him, and we ended up searching for a building. So because we were in Montego Bay, my husband and I were the ones that searched for the building. He came, he approved, and he paid, and we decided okay, fine, we're going to start pastoring, right? So we found a place, we put things together, organize the whole setting up the building that we found and all of that, and then we say okay, fine, we're now going to move forward, right? So now that we have found the place and he confirmed, he paid for us to get that place leased and started. And it's just crazy that in all of this, I do believe that I actually prayed to the Lord, and I sought for direction, I sought for instruction and guidance. But I was caught up more in the whole fact of this being so surreal. I'm going to be pastoring for, you know, someone that is on national television, someone who is on the radio, someone that has a lot of followers, someone that has a huge church. I was so caught up by all of this that if it is that God was saying to me, no, this is not the one, this is not the time, this is not the person to work with, I would have completely missed God, and I absolutely did. Prophets, I want to share this with you. Never be caught up in any opportunity that you end up missing God. Never be caught up in emotionalism, excitement, fanatics, that you actually miss out on what God is saying. And because I was so young at the time, I was willing to submit to someone that was older. Do not crave submission, do not crave mentorship, do not crave just being held accountable by someone that you actually submit to the wrong person. There's some of you do not have a spiritual covering, a spiritual mother or father, and it's not that you are being rebellious or you are blatantly saying that you don't want to be covered by someone. You just have not found that person, or that person has not found you as yet. It is okay for you to be in that place a little while. It is okay for you to be there. The Lord is your covering. So I was searching for something. I was searching for someone that would just be there. I could say, yes, this is a spiritual father, this is a spiritual parent, this is someone I can call on if I needed prayers or backative or anything at all, that I just completely miss God. So we got the place, and there were a few red flags that I did not see because I was just completely excited. And I remember at that point in time, we had, once we opened, as a matter of fact, once we opened the church, I remember we needed some chairs, and I remember that this person had gave me some numbers. He sent me some contacts to my WhatsApp of a few persons that I could call just to ask for assistance and donation to purchase chairs and whatever the church needed. But the way in which I got these contacts was, these persons are great assets. They have money, they are wealthy, they could be an asset to the ministry. Trust me, don't ever let them tell you no, because they have it, they can do it. Let them know I gave you the contact, I told you to call, and blah blah blah. And I called, and they did give the money to help to purchase the chairs. But you know, looking back and thinking, initially I thought, okay, cool, it's good to know that you have people that are willing, that are able to assist and bless the ministry. It was over time that I actually realized, after talking to these persons, how this pastor has been just milking their pockets, taking money, borrowing money from them, not paying back, only calling when they need money. And it has just been a form of prostitution that was expressed from these persons. And that was when I actually felt it. It didn't happen immediately, but it happened much later on. And until this day, I have relation with these persons that I got the contacts for. And it just dawned on me recently that this man has just been taking money from people like crazy, not caring about their situations, because these persons that I got their contacts, they had serious issues, they had serious things that they needed God to intervene, to heal them, to deliver their families on. So they needed God to assist them, and this man was only concerned about how much money he could actually receive from them. So I turned a blind eye to this situation. No, upon pastoring, we had no concrete conversation per se on on how we would be paid, how we would be financed to travel to the church and back. And we were told, oh, the church is going to cover you. Whatever money you make, you can pay the rent for the building, you can do whatever you need to do to cover the church and yourself. And I thought, I was so naive and I was so young, and I thought that, okay, if he says so, then that's exactly how it's going to go. The church is definitely going to cover itself. My husband is a financial advisor. He's good with finances. He is our accountant at home and for the church presently. And he was saying that doesn't make any sense. He didn't say it to him, of course, respectively. He said it to me, what will you be paid at the end of the month? Because you're going to be preaching, you're going to be overseeing the church. That was never settled. We spoke nothing about that. We were just told to do what you're doing. We'll talk about it. You'll get whatever from the church. It will cover you, and so on and so forth. And so we started pastoring, and it was a young church. We just opened, so we didn't have a lot of people per se. We labored, we put the work in. People started to come out, and of course, because it was a young church, we were not able to cover all the expenses. We just had a baby. Our baby was about maybe 4 or 5 months, and we had to try to cover some of the expenses from the church for ourselves, from our own pockets, bank account that we did not have at the time. And we thought that it was a bit weird, trying to cover someone else's church. But I had faith that this was just a journey, a process. It was just the beginning. If you can be faithful over a few things, then God can make you rule over many. And I completely turned a blind eye. I completely just shut down the lens of the prophetic, just to focus on what I thought was something that was good for me. Totally disobeying my husband and everything that he was saying. And it really just started to go downhill very quickly. It started to literally go downhill very, very, very quickly. So everything started to go downhill real quickly. We had a conference at the church, and upon having the conference, there were some things that actually happened. This was about perhaps 2 months into pastoring. Some things happened where we had a speaker that came from overseas, and we were told to have the conference, and he would be paying this person at the end. At the end of the conference, this person came all the way from overseas, was staying at a hotel, was preaching for, I believe it was a week. We did not necessarily have all the money to pay him gathered from the conference, and it just turned into this whole thing. I felt used, I felt humiliated, I felt like a little girl. A lot of things were said, and this man did not want to pay the speaker that came all the way from overseas, and it looked bad on me. And so I really felt some kind of way at this point. After pastoring for all these weeks, I remember after paying the prophet that came, we had $100 that was left. And we had $100 that was left, and he called this false prophet, whoever he is, called from Kingston, and he asked, how much do we have left? And we said $100, which is literally under 15,000 Jamaican dollars. That literally cannot do anything at all. And he told us to take that for our pay for the entire week of pastoring, for the entire months of pastoring, having a newborn baby, being at the church till late nights. Listen, we were leaving conference like 12 a.m., 1 a.m. in the morning, having to go home with a new baby. And so we were truly putting in the work of God. Listen, let me say this, young prophets, not because you are young, not because you are passionate, you have a zeal, you are energetic, and you are excited about the work of God, means that you should allow anyone to prostitute you or to use you. You have to know God for yourself. You have to know what you are worth. You're not doing ministry, and you're not doing this for someone to give you money to be paid. You're not doing it for the money, but you have to understand that in order to do the work of God, finances is going to be involved, and this is something that we do not talk about a lot. And if you're coming up in the prophetic, you are going to have to talk about finances, whether you like it or not. There's a right way and there is a wrong way. You give freely as you have received, you prophesy freely, you pray for the sick freely, you deliver freely, and you allow God to use you freely. However, when your time comes into play, your efforts, your health, your family, you're working extreme late hours, you know, you're doing so much, then you have to be honored for the work that you are doing. So never allow anyone to use you and tell you don't ask about finances, God will cover it. No, you're actually working for someone, right? So he told us to take that $100 after working for so many weeks, and for that entire week of conference, leaving at 12 a.m. 1 a.m. in the morning. He told us to take that $100 for our pay, which was extremely disrespectful, by the way. I'm a grown woman, my husband is there with me, and we have a baby. And I believe it was a couple of days, was it a couple of days or perhaps a week or so after, he called and he said to me on the phone, that $100 that I told you to take, is it possible I could get it back to help to pay some of the bills for the church? And at this point, I just felt like a little girl being toyed with, being used, being manipulated, being deceived. And guys, like, can you even imagine? I want you to leave your comments below, and I want to know what you guys are thinking. So leave your comments below, let me know absolutely what you're thinking. And we said to him, listen, we used that money, remember, we did not get paid, we used that money and whatever it is, and we still did not get paid for being a pastor or doing the conference or anything, and we just continued doing the work of the Lord. And I remember he has another pastor that pastors for him, and I remember that pastor telling me at some point in time that once you come into pastoring, you have to learn how to raise an offering. You have to learn how to collect offering. When you collect an offering, you have to learn how to take what you need to take, and use whatever you need to use to cover the church or whatever. And I did not pay it any mind. I just thought he was helping me to learn how to pastor or to do how to keep the church running afloat. And I'm not sharing this with any bad intents. I'm sharing this so that you guys can be more aware, be more alert, be more discerning, learning to know that you know God for yourself, even as a young prophet, learning how to honor senior prophets while not walking away from what God is saying. So even though you're young, you learn how to honor and to respect older prophets, but even while doing so, you're not killing yourself. Remember the old prophet and the young prophet, how the young prophet went to eat with the older prophet, and when he left, the older prophet said to him, by the way, because you stopped and eat, you're going to die. Come on. So no bad intentions, right? So I thought that his pastor, one of the pastors that work with him, one of my colleagues in the ministry, was just helping me how to keep the church afloat by teaching me how to raise an offering. I've never liked raising offerings. I still don't. I know how to raise an offering, but you have to know, you have to just be led by God. You cannot raise an offering from a church where people don't have it, or you can't force people to give what they don't have. So that's a whole other video. So I didn't put it into perspective. It was when things began to kind of go downhill, we felt like we were being used, we were laboring, we weren't able to pay the church's rent. It wasn't our church. I was pastoring for this person. It wasn't our church. I was just working there. So I remember we called him and we told him that we needed help with your church, and he told us to come to Kingston. We went to Kingston. We had a meeting. We were told that we have no wisdom in a church operation, and my husband was sitting there in the meeting. And if anybody knows my husband, he does not play. He does not play, right? And we were sitting there taking the disrespect. I can only imagine that my husband wanted to, you know, do an outburst or say, who do you think you're talking to? Huh? Who do you think you're talking to? But he kept his composure. And the man said, we have no wisdom in church operation. And I'm thinking, we have kept your church afloat for the past couple of weeks or months. We've been doing a pretty good job. The church has been growing, flourishing. It's a young church, so of course we're going to need help to cover the rent, the water, the electricity. We have internet. And so I remember what he gave us was like a tip in the bucket to cover our expenses. He said he had no money, which was totally absurd. And we had to travel all the way to Kingston. I believe that as a senior prophet or as an apostle, if you are starting a church, you ought to know how you're going to maintain this church. Or if God has given you a church, if God has allowed you to plant a church, He is going to provide for that church. And I do believe that if you're going to have a ministry, you should be able to have time as a senior overseer, as an overseer, a bishop, an apostle, or a senior prophet to come in, work with us, help us to draw people, help us to teach the people how to sow, how to give, how to tithe, how to serve, how to be faithful to God. We did not have that assistance. And we were doing the very best that we could. This person said we had no wisdom in pastoring and running a church. And I thought, if we have no wisdom, why aren't you teaching us or training us? Or why are you still allowing us to lead your church? And we took that disrespect and we just left. And I remember on that day before we went into the meeting, his wife, when she saw us, she came up to us and she kissed our baby on the cheek. She kissed our baby on the cheek. She kissed our baby on the cheek, and I don't know, there's always something about the wife that I just never got. I never understood. I never got. Something just struck me as being off. Nonetheless, I respected, I honored, I served. But that day, everything just started to play out. Everything just started to go wrong. The disrespect, no assistance. And we were serving in their church. And I had a brother that was a part of the ministry also, that was completely being used. He had a family, he had a wife, he had his wife was pregnant or had a son, I believe. His wife had a son, and they were being paid nothing. They were being paid a small amount per month. They were actually being paid per month, and what they were being paid is a disrespect. He was being paid, I was not being paid anything at all, which is even a greater disrespect. And so this was not only happening to me. I'm sure if he was to share his testimony, which he has actually, it would just be absurd to you guys. But that day she kissed my son, and when she kissed him, it just made me so upset in myself. It made me extremely upset within my spirit, and I didn't pray about it. I didn't think much of it. When we got back to Montego Bay that Saturday evening, the Sunday morning came. When we got to church, there was a young man that took my son out of the car, was trying to take my son out of the car seat. I don't know what he did, but he flipped the car seat upside down. My baby fell on his face. I've never seen my husband cry like that before. It was just totally absurd. My baby was just a couple months old and he fell on his face. By the time church was over, we went back into the car. I had the baby and I had him on the seat, just changing him. And I've never dropped my baby before. Even until now, I've never had any accidents. As a mother, you may have accidents with your child, and that's completely fine. It happens. We're not perfect. But I have never had an accident with my child. Never. The baby fell on his face again. So 3 times in a row, our child fell on his face. Because of that, his teeth actually began to grow out weird. That was when the Holy Spirit began to reveal it to me that, listen, you need to pray for your child. Pray for your child. That kiss that woman gave your son, pray for your son. So I started to pray for him seriously, broke some stuff, and it was just so crazy that my life just started to go upside down. Everything started to just go bad. We decided that we were not going to. So everything's take 3. So everything started to go downhill to the point where, you know, we were paying for this man's church and expenses out of our own pockets. We could not afford it. Of course we could not afford it. We just had a baby, we were young, we were trying to put our lives together. It was not fair. We were being prostituted, we were being used. And I'm sharing this just to let you guys know, as a young prophet, do not allow anybody to use you. Do not allow anybody to prostitute you because you're young. Do not allow people to say because they're older, or to feel as though because they're older, you're always going to say yes sir, yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. No, you have to know God for yourself. As a big woman, as a big man, you have to know how to stand on your own feet and make your own decisions. And you have to know that you know the voice of God for yourself. We decided that we were not going to pastor for him anymore because we were not getting any form of assistance, physical assistance with training, or spiritual assistance. We were not receiving any financial assistance, and we could not afford to do it on our own. It was never our church, so we felt as though, you know, it was better we had our own church than being used by someone that does not care about us. And I remember when we were leaving that day, he told the landlord that, you know, he was paying all the rents and he was sending money and he was doing this and doing that. And we said, no, you weren't doing that. You weren't helping us. We asked you for help and you have not been helping us. And I remember he called me aside. We had a meeting and he called me where I was just with him alone. And I remember he said to me, he's sorry for what he's doing, but there's no way that he can look bad as a prophet. And I remember I thought, this has got to be the devil. Like, guys, can you imagine what I'm saying? This has got to be the devil. This man is totally humiliating me before people, disgracing me before people, just shutting me down, killing me before people, in the presence of people, in meetings. And then he's going to call me aside and say that, I'm sorry, I love you very much, but I can't allow you to make me look bad or in front of anybody. So when we were about to drive off, I remember his other pastor that still pastors for him actually came to the car, and he said he was in the meeting. He was not necessarily saying a whole lot. Was someone that I really loved, someone I genuinely loved. When I was in Kingston working with them, I always stay at his house. I loved him dearly. I remember he said to me that he knows exactly what I'm going through, and he could say stuff, but he does not want to say anything. And he was going through the same thing as well, but I don't know. But the whole point of it was, if you know that he's doing this or he's this or that, why are you working with him? I guess he knows how to take his pay, he knows how to take his money, he knows how to do that. That's not me. I like to do things respectively and honorably. I want you to pay me what I truly deserve. I don't want to have to, if I make $100,000 per month, I don't want to have to take 50 or take 40 or 60 and give you 40 and tell you, oh, I only made 40. No, I'm not going to do that. That is lying. That is deceptive. I'd rather not to work for you. So, you know, we ended up deciding to leave, and we decided to start our own church. He was saying we could take the church building if we wanted to, since we're closing out. We said, no. It's your building, keep it. We went and we got our own building. Guys, so much has happened. Like, literally so much has actually happened. I do believe that I left. We were upset when we left. We did not disrespect anybody. I believe that a lot of people have called me saying that he has said a lot of things, but he has never said that I was disrespectful or anything like that, which is good. Not that I care anyways. But it is good to leave honorably and respectively and on good terms as best as possible. But when I look back, we were treated so poorly. We were never honored, we were never respected, we were never cared for as leaders. And in the next episode, I'm going to share some things with you. Since I started to pastor, I decided that I was going to love people, care for them, you know, treat them respectively, treat them very respectably, and I was just going to be just a servant of God. I did that, and a lot of things happened, which I'm going to share with you. How we started our own church, how it grew. We had 150 chairs, a seat in 150 persons. The pandemic came, so much happened. So I'm going to be sharing this with you guys in the next episode of Prophet's Diary. But I wanted to share this with you. I totally miss God. I was prophesying accurately. I was calling names, casting legions of devils out of people. I was hearing the voice of God. But on this particular matter, I completely miss God. And had it been that God had allowed me to pass for this prophet, this false prophet, just to learn, just to learn, just to go through some things, to get first-hand training, just to process us, to have our own, then so be it. But I completely miss God. And one of the things that hurts me the most throughout the entire process was I lost a spiritual father. I lost a spiritual father that I had since 2008. I think 2007, 2008 thereabout. Had a spiritual father that I have been with for so long, so close with. And I remember I called him and I shared with him that I'm no longer pastoring for this man. He is evil, he is cruel, he is mean, deceptive. I think he has evil altars at his house. I know he has evil altars. He's just complete pure wickedness. And I shared that with him, and he shared with me that he worked with him before, and he told me his wife is a witch. My spiritual father at the time told me that this man, his wife is a witch. Whenever I go to his church, his wife has to go somewhere else to sleep, or if his wife has to go somewhere else to the office, or she stays in the church, she falls asleep because she can't stand under his anointing. She's a witch, and he loves money. He's a thief. He took money and he did not pay, and he this and he that, and he said so many bad things about them. And then in the midst of all of that, he just went missing. I was trying to reach out to him. He went missing. He was preaching for that man, wrapped up with him, cuddling with him, loving him, preaching and all over the place at his church, worshiping, and I was completely blown away. I don't understand how you can speak such evil about people. His wife is a witch. He did this to you, he did that to you, and he specifically said he would never work with him again a day in his life. Then I saw him there, and I just cut it off. I just cut off the relationship. There's no way you can tell me something bad about someone, something totally disgusting about someone, and then you're hugging up with them and laughing with them. I'm not about that life. So I've just learned so much that as a young prophet, I've learned so much. And the reason why I'm doing this video is not because I'm hurt, not because I haven't gotten over it. It has been a couple of years, but I am so passionate for young prophets who are coming up. Don't allow anyone to use you. Do not allow for you to say that probably because I'm young and they're senior, they hear God more than I do, and they know what God wants to do for me more than I do. No. You know what God wants to do in your life. You hear the voice of God. If God reveals something to you, trust what God has said. Don't allow a senior prophet to use you or to try to curse you or destroy your marriage or your ministry. So I wanted to share this with you guys. And if you have learned anything at all, if you have been blessed by this any at all, I want you to leave a comment in the comment section and let me know what you think. So let me know what you think. In the next episode in episode 6 of Prophet's Diary, I'm going to be sharing with you guys on how we started pastoring. The Lord just started sending people to help us. We had everything that we needed. God just provided everything without any struggle, any hassle. It was just an amazing journey. But over this entire couple of years, 2018 through 2022, we have learned so much, and I'm going to be sharing with you guys my failures, my successes, and my failures. There are some things that the devil would probably want me to be ashamed of, but I'm not. It's a learning process. There are some things that I probably should have felt as though I failed, but I did not fail. Sometimes you have to fail in order for you to learn or to go again. So there are many things I want to share with you guys, many successes and many failures that I want to share with you guys. But learn from my mistake, learn from my husband's and I mistake. Do not run to pastor for someone that has not set definite decisions on how they're going to honor you, pay you. It doesn't matter if you are related to the person. It doesn't matter if the person is your spiritual mother or father or biologically. It doesn't matter what relation you have with that person. If you're going to come together to work together as a team, then there should be honor and there should be respect. If this person is going to pay you at the end of the month, put it on paper. Do not take a word of mouth for anything. Not because it is church, specifically not because it is church. Do not take their word for it and say, oh yeah, they're gonna do it. No, you have to learn. When it comes to the things of God, there are two sides. There's a spiritual side and there's a natural side. The natural side requires a lot of wisdom. It needs a lot of discernment from the spirit to affect the natural aspect of things. And so I completely avoided and turned a blind eye to all the natural things that I could have, that I completely missed out on what God was saying. So I was so spiritual that I missed out on all the natural things that God was trying to reveal to me. So I hope that you guys were blessed by this episode. Leave a comment below. Please make sure you like, subscribe, share with someone. And thank you guys so much for watching. God bless you. Until next episode, see you.